if she's a librarian or a nurse, like, yo, you can go raw.
Your love, I'm gonna make you mine. There's something special about your love. I think it's one of a kind.
Alright, so what did I have
So
today?
what do you want? Yeah, what topic
Alright,
do you
so
want?
quick word on this, because I feel like, again, kind of like with the Will Smith thing, I don't want to be like pop culture, like reference kind of thing. But we've spoke on this a couple of times, so I just wanted to kind of a quick word on the passing of Kevin Samuels. I think actually what's funny in this is not in anything to do with his passing, but on commenting on him. I think what's funny about it is neither one of us felt really strongly about him either way. Like, we didn't, like, I wasn't a strong, like, proponent of his. You were not like the typical, like, strong, like, opponent of his, like, yo, you didn't like him or whatever.
I watched a couple of his videos and I realized his platform and I wasn't interested in it.
Yeah.
So, but there's women that didn't agree with it and continued to watch.
Yeah.
And I think that angered them.
I think the other thing was too, like, there's always going to be something that you kind of go viral for or you kind of blow up on. And after a while, he started to get typecast into a certain role. And I said this is like maybe the third time Lisa has to listen to me say this. I kind of feel like, even though I wasn't really tuned into any of his content, and I had seen enough of the kind of thing that was giving him the negative connotations, from him to say, like, okay, you earned that karma. Like, there's no way you can act as if, like, no, you're taking him out of context. Because, like, I hate fans of any kind of platform or person or anything.
To add to that is, when he said karma, you're saying the energy of, like, the negativity, not
you
his
put
death.
out,
not his
no,
death.
no, no.
Like, no, because that's actually somebody commented and said he received death was his karma, and I was like, I don't know if that's really.
That's kind of strong. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Like,
I mean, I don't know if he really hurt anybody's feelings strong enough to warrant dying.
I can't say for sure if somebody committed suicide because of his comments or whatever.
But there are some ironies I can say that, you know, it's irony. Like,
different.
You have to acknowledge the irony that here's this slim person who gave off the impression that he was very into appearance. You know, like, I've seen multiple interviews of him asking a woman, like, yo, how much do you weigh, blah blah blah, and the implication of that, and then to die of a heart attack, as what we're thinking happened. It just shows, like, yo, don't think just because you appear to be and then she shows, like, this big dessert plate. Don't think just because you have a certain appearance that you're healthy. You know what I mean?
Very much so.
And there's a lot of other factors that's going to go into a whole bunch of other stuff I don't really care to get into because I don't know anything on. But what I'm commenting on is, because I don't feel strongly either way about it, I can kind of look at it from a neutral standpoint and say, maybe some people are going to say I'm looking at it from, like, a very fence-sitting position. I get what the anger was about. And I also want to make people realize that, like, after a while, the algorithm, the media, all those things are going to typecast you into something. You know, like, look at the last thing we were talking about. Will Smith had how long of a career? Or I don't know how many decades-long career. And now the only time, if you say Will Smith, like, slap is the next thing that comes up, slap. Like, no one cares about anything else that happened to him before that.
If you try to Google Will Smith.
Yeah. You know, Google slap and Chris Rock and all of that is going to come up. So it's like, it doesn't take much to tumble you down a certain avenue and push you and force you down a certain thing. And then worse, if that is your spot of rise, you know, that's where you actually came up, you're also tempted to double down on that kind of behavior. You might be like, okay, I'm not really into this, but this is what I'm getting.
So you're saying that you think he went viral and he was like, oh, this is good And continue down that rabbit hole of saying things that were controversial.
Yeah, until I think there might have been a point where he was like, okay, this isn't exactly what I want to be doing. This isn't what I set out to be doing. And like the controversy is a lot of distraction. It's a lot of focus on me now to worry about, like, if I'm being a hypocrite, if I'm doing this, if I'm doing that, rather than taking anything that I might be saying that's true. Because people will always slaughter the messenger and not really listen to the message. I could have the truth that's going to tell you something, but if I do something that you don't like, or that's going to make you don't like me, right, it's going to be 10 times harder for you to hear that message, right? And just the other opposite, like, if you like somebody, you will sit and listen to them say the most moronic, like, nonsensical thing
like,
over and over, and it's like, I kind of agree, but I find whatever, and it's like, no, like, listen to the message. So I think he noticed that his message was getting lost at the end, but it might have been just too late, too little, too late to kind of turn.
There were some things that I will say, I understood what he was saying, but how he presented it, like the whole, if you over 35, you're a leftover, right? That's one of his biggest quoted sayings, right? Or episodes. And I understand from the full interview, what he was saying is that, when you're 35 and over, that dating pool starts to shrink. So when you're like, oh, I want a man that doesn't have kids, I don't want a man that's never been married, I want a man that has a college degree, and yada 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 yada, that starts to dwindle down, because those men that you claim you want either are married, or or
all those things that you wanted before you got married, someone else took them, and they now achieved all those things now. Like, that's the other problem, is like, we always end up with overcorrections, right? So like, toxic masculinity, the overcorrection to that is like toxic femininity, and like the idea that doesn't exist is dumb, because if one exists, the other one, the polar opposite, it must exist, right? So like, I think all of us that grew up in toxic masculinity, like, did our part in toxic masculinity, still doing our part in toxic masculinity. Like, if you hate toxic femininity, like, at least admit that you're part of the reason that there's so much momentum swing back the other way. Like, why it's so much that, like, they're overdoing it, because we were overdoing it, and it's not right. 2 wrongs don't make a right, but it does make it even. So if we were pulling this far to the left, when it swings to the right, it's going to swing all the way over there, and you're going to be like, okay, you're doing too much. And either they're not going to realize they're doing too much, or you're only realizing that they're doing too much because now you're getting to see it from the outside, how ridiculous what we were on is up to. So it's like, yeah, I could say, like, there are a certain segment, much smaller than the segment made it seem, like, was he talking to every black woman? And all his fans that thought he was talking to every black woman was ridiculous.
Yeah, because that's the thing. A lot of fans are saying,
yeah, see, that's my situation. It's like,
and
no.
it's like, have you met every black woman?
But I think
talking about your mama?
That was the thing. That was the thing at the end. I think he was trying to get the guys to be like, okay, now you're turning me into some, like, woman hater. Like, like, reflect on yourself. There is a reason why these girls don't want you, because this and this and this. But it was, like, too late in the platform, and, like, everybody wanted him to bring our women down a notch. And I was kind of thinking of myself as, like, a black person, like, as a... and I'm going to start, I'm sorry, but, like, as a black person, somebody of color, like, yo, do we need to be taken down a notch? Like, honestly, is anybody who is not, like, is anybody in the minority need to be taken down a notch?
I think we get that
we
enough
can
daily.
we can lose ourselves in unrealistic expectations, but do we need to be taken down a notch? And, like, that was where we were cheering too much for that.
Yeah, that's what's troubling, is, like, we already get taken down a notch in the workplace. Sometimes going to supermarkets, sometimes going to the
Everywhere.
bank. We don't need now our own people to be turning around and like pointing the finger at us.
And the thing is,
saying
people are gonna say that was what the problem was that the toxic femininity that he was supposed to be counterbalancing was taking down the black man a notch. And I was like, yeah, but that's the problem. Why y'all keep pointing your fingers at each other going like, yo, you did this to me, no, you did this to me, and we both in the same hole? Like, you not working to get out the hole together. You both in there trying to blame each other like, yo, you the reason I'm down here. Oh yeah, well, you the reason I'm down here. And neither one, even if it is all black women's fault that black men are in the state they are now, which is preposterous, or if it's the state of black women is because of black men, I hate to tell you, but like, yo, that does nothing for you. Nothing for you. It does nothing for you to blame, even if the other side concedes and says, okay, yo, you know what, I admit it, it's my fault. I'm also down here in this hole with you, bro. So like, I didn't really get much out of it, did I? So, anyway, yeah. So I think that's enough on that topic. I don't know is there something that you want to add to it. Maybe I could kind of riff off that, but I think it was like with most people, there was a much more complex, complicated person, but you know. We want a character.
First and foremost, we don't know Kevin Samuels the man, right?
Yeah.
We know. I don't want to call him a character, but I don't know the man, right? I only watched maybe a total of like 4 or 5 videos, and they weren't like full videos. It was just like clips of stuff, and I was like, yeah, this is not my thing. I have a friend of mine that is a fan of his and was like, oh no, you kind of have to watch his videos and you really get to like a better grasp of him. And still I was like, I think there are things that he was spewing that was actually negative to this friend of mine. But
if you wanted to draw the negativity out of what he was trying to say, you could get it.
Yes, but that's the thing. You know, this friend of mine is going through stuff, so this friend of ours, is going through, you know, just life, right? So there were things that he was drawing from the message, and he was a part of that audience of, I don't want to be like fully, you know, like negative, but it you know, when you are hurting, and someone is telling you that there's a population of people that are hurting you, and you're like, yes, I'm hurting. That is true. Women do that. Women, you know, it feeds into that. And I, you know, this is not me talking about my friend. My friend knows that I tell him this, and I tell him like, you need to stop watching this guy. So
that kind of brings the conversation full circle, though, because I think that was what the problem was that a lot of people wanted him to be their like dagger to tear back down this black woman that hurt them, or this black woman that they felt as being unrealistic. And way too late in the process, he realized, wait, you guys aren't really listening to what I'm saying. I am trying to get them to be realistic.
Okay.
While you're just here for me to tear them down and kind of get even. And like, that was the problem.
I will agree. There were times where I felt like he is trying to say, women, be realistic, and you looking for a man that's making, you know, 6 figures and up, and you making $20,000 a year.
Because I see women now on internet, on TikTok, on things, saying certain things that I feel like he was trying to allude to, and they're not saying it as brutal. But again, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, if I'm part of the group, it's a little easier for me to like critique that group. So it's, for example, like me now, we're both Jamaican, or born in Jamaica, right? Like, live most of our lives in the U.S., but like, let us go to Jamaica and have a critique about Jamaica. No matter how honest it is, there's somebody that's gonna be like, look at this, look at this foreigner, this Jamaican, or whatever nonsense they may come with. And it's just like,
that the other day.
Not even just that you said it, but it's like, did it make what I said any? Yeah, like, you know what I mean. But you're so busy trying to be offended by like, oh my God, how dare this man try to tell me what's wrong with women, that like a woman will come across and say worse than that, and you'll be like, oh yeah, it's kind of true, you know, you gotta
But again, what I didn't like was the generalization of women, right?
Yeah,
so
definitely.
you'll be like, oh, you know, like people will say like, yo, black women will do this, right? And I'm like, excuse me, I'm a black woman that on a good year I can make 6 figures. Thank you.
I will say this. This is a generalization that is actually true about women. If you want to piss any woman off, generalize a statement about women. Like,
but that would
no
be
matter
true.
what
men
it
say the
is.
same thing too. If I made a broad statement and was like,
but men are. I don't think men are as
black
triggered.
men don't wash their butt.
But see,
You'd
the
be like,
thing
yo, that's crazy.
No, but you know what it is? I think it might be a situation of like, the higher up you are, or like the further you are away from that oppression, is the more like you don't care. Like, you know, like you could try to say something about certain white people or whatever, right? And be like, all white people this, or all white blah blah blah. But like, there's gonna be some white person that's secure in who they are, and they're not gonna really care. They're gonna be like, all right, that's a generalization. That you're not talking about me, but okay, whatever. Okay. So like, I don't feel like men worry as much about generalizations about them as much as women do.
Okay.
I think women are more bothered by Nobody likes to be generalized, but I'm saying it really triggers women a lot more to be generalized than men do. You know, like I hear women say the craziest thing about men, and I'll be like, all right, well, that ain't true, but like, am I gonna waste the breath and argument to be like, that's actually not true when I'm not like that, and get vet? I'm just like, yeah, all right, yo, like, sis, you want to believe that? That's cool. Okay, you know. But like, if you want to really get on the nerves of women, is make generalizations. Now, if you say there are too many women doing this or blah blah blah, even then, it's like, I still didn't say all women do this, right? So once you get into that, like all black, and I think some of his fans were getting that too. They were like, but it's true, all black women do this. I'm not saying all men do,
but a lot of men do.
Bro, you date like 2 black women your whole life, right? Or you are like, you're in a certain area, you can't even tell me what's going on like 2 counties away from you, right? You don't explore nothing around you, but you have your one experience, and then you have this guy saying something, and you're like, yeah, but it's true, all women are like that. And I'm like, yo, bro, like, you sound insane,
what?
Bro.
Like, where have you been to?
Newsflash, if you think it's nice
somebody
somewhere else on the other side, go ask them.
Prime example, men will be like, yo, I don't date black women, right? And you're like, what? And you're like, yeah, Miami girls, they be crazy, but Miami black girls are crazy. And I'm like, okay, Miami black girls, like, oh, they got attitude. And you're like, well, number one, how are you approaching these women? Are you just going to the supermarket and being like, hey, or like, hey girl, you know, like, well, you might garner some attitude. If you grabbing a woman at a club, you might garner some attitude.
You might be talking truth about a certain sect, but like, of people, but
there's usually
the idea that like everybody has an attitude is like, everybody that's like black women have an attitude. I've heard this before, and I'm like, yo, again, you as a person of color playing into this narrative is so stupid, because like, yo, you gotta think about it, right? You know for a fact that not all generalizations about whatever group you belong to is true, right? But you're letting somebody sell you on the idea that somebody like, all right, me and you, we are both black people, but I'm not a black woman, you're not a black man, right? So, but we belong to, like, yo, at the end of the day, we are black people, right? If I allow somebody to say something negative about you, right? And be like, well, yeah, all black women, blah, blah, that's true, blah. Yo, you're basically giving credence to the idea that, like, yo, there are true stereotypes out there. So don't get mad
Okay.
when somebody stereotype you. Then that's dumb.
All right, so this was a generalization that I heard. This was an Abba and Preach. Yo, if I could actually get the clip of them saying this, I'll try to insert it here. But pretty much they said that all nurses swallow, and I was like, wait, what?
Yo, you know what's so weird about you?
I was so like, what are you talking about?
So, the point of what I'm saying is like this. That I've said statements like that where it's like, bruh, if you don't know that I'm joking, like that I am making an obvious
like,
generalization.
He was like straight up.
Nah, bro. So you honestly believe he believes that?
I think he does. I think he will be like, oh, what do you do or something? Like he'll go on a date and like, you're a nurse? Yo.
What are you talking about? No. See, that's what I'm talking about.
No.
You know what that reminds me of?
Like if I was single and I met him and he was like, what do you, I would never answer that question because I know that in his mind he thinks
that's what I'm talking about. Like that's where
Okay.
like
Tell me.
you as a nurse, right? If
Tell
you weren't
them.
a nurse, would you really believe? I don't think you would really believe that. That's true.
Time out. Tell them about your friend from the fire academy that had a generalization
But
about
I thought he was trolling.
librarians and nurses. Tell them.
I think he was trolling, and people just thought he was being serious.
I think he was serious.
No, I think what he was
Tell
being
them.
is being stupid. Like, all right, when I was in the fire academy, one of my boys, he was like, yo, he was like a dirtbag. He was like on the little dating apps, and this was like in the infancy of like dating apps, and on when you like, it wasn't on your phone, right? It wasn't swipe left. You were like online with it, right?
Okay.
So he was like in the infancy of like the online dating boom, like eHarmony. Oh, sorry, eHarmony. What other ones were there?
Match, Christian Mingle.
Christian Mingle.
Those were the three initial.
Right.
Stop! I know somebody that met that way.
I'm sure people have had success all over the place. Yo, we met off Match, but like, yo, bruh, like the things you come across is. Anyway, so he had this whole thing where he was like, yo, if she's a librarian or a nurse, like, yo, you can go raw because you know they don't have anything. And I was like, bruh, like, and people would be like, bro, you serious? And he'd be like, yeah, I'm dead.
I can understand the logic. The librarian thing, it's like, wait, what?
But that's the thing. I don't think he was dead serious.
Did you know
I think he was being an idiot.
Do you know all librarians are PhDs? For you to get the title to be a librarian?
To be an actual librarian.
To be an actual librarian, yeah. To have a title librarian, you have to have a PhD. Didn't know that.
But like, I just didn't think he was being serious.
I think he really believed that.
I didn't think so.
I think he was going in raw in nurses and librarians all over Broward County.
See, like that's preposterous. You know what that reminds me of?
What?
That reminds me of like, I made a joke one time, and I was like, yo, everybody who has this name is like a dickhead. Oh. And it's like it's an obvious joke. That's an impossible scenario. Impossible.
Yours, I know that was a joke. That guy's, I'm not sure.
All right.
I don't know him.
But the problem is, whenever you make a generalization, you lead into this. All right. So funny enough, like as you mentioned, like our friend that was like into that. The next thing I wanted to get into, which kind of...
Next topic, guys.
Yeah, it kind of rolls off of that last topic. And I'll show you why it does. Because you're first thing you'll be like, how the hell does this have anything to do with Kevin Samuels? But like, do you think that you can share friends? Can we share friends? She don't want to do it all of a sudden. Now she don't want to do the whole...
Cover it up.
Peace, love, and nappiness or whatever.
I think it's one of a kind. There's something special about your love. I want it all the time. You will always be my inspiration.